Jaya Rad Hamadava Kunjavihari Hamadava Kunjavihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yasoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiara Banachari Jamuna Tiara Banachari Jaya Rad Amadava Kunjavihari Kunjavihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yasoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiara Banachari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today, what book are we reading from? Is it the Yoga Vashishta? No? Not the Yoga Vashishta? Advaita Acharya lectured from that book. He got in trouble though, right? He was trying to get, so we won't be reading from the Yoga Vashishta today. We'll be reading something more personal. In fact, we are going to tell a story that might make you go ape. It talks about some people monkeying around. This is called The Deliverance of Dvivida Gorilla. Let's see here. While Sukadev Goswami continued to speak on the transcendental pastimes and characteristics of Lord Krishna, King Parikshit, upon hearing him, became more and more enthusiastic, wanting to hear further. See, the material subjects become stale. I remember reading in the junior high school, which I think they called it middle school, maybe something else here, and it was called The Law of Diminishing Returns. It shows that the 2-liter bottle sells for less money per ounce than the half liter. You know why? It's called the Law of Diminishing Returns. The more you take of it, the less you enjoy it. Whereas spiritual life is called Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, an ever-increasing ocean of transcendental bliss. Okay. Sukadev Goswami next narrated the story of Dvivida. I think he's chasing Dvivida, who was killed by Lord Balaram. Oh, that gives it away, doesn't it? This gorilla was a great friend of Bhaumasura or Narakasura, who was killed by Krishna in connection with his kidnapping 16,000 princesses from all over the world. Dvivida was the minister of King Sugriva. His brother, Mainda, was also a very powerful gorilla king. When Dvivida gorilla heard the story of his friend Bhaumasura being killed by Lord Krishna, he planned to create mischief throughout the country in order to avenge the death of Bhaumasura. His business was to set fires in villages, towns, and industrial and mining places, as well as the residential quarters of mercantile men who were busy dairy farming and protecting cows. He must have been here a couple years ago, huh? In Durban? Sometimes he would uproot a big mountain and tear it to pieces. In this way, he created great disturbances all over the country, especially in the province of Katwar. The city of Dwarka was situated in this Katwar province, and because Lord Krishna used to live in this city, Dvivida specifically made it his target of disturbance. Remember these things, they'll be on the test. Dvivida was as powerful as 10,000 elephants. Sometimes he would go to the seashore, and with his powerful hands, he would create so much disturbance in the sea that he would flood the neighboring cities and villages. Often he would go to the hermitages of great saintly persons and sages and cause a great disturbance by smashing their beautiful gardens and orchards. I guess he must have been one of the Vandals. The Vandals are people who attacked Rome and they vandalized, and this is, obviously he's vandalizing. Not only did he create disturbance in this way, but sometimes he would pass urine and stool on their sacred arenas. He would thus pollute the whole atmosphere. He also kidnapped both men and women, taking them away from their residential palaces to the caves of the mountains. After putting them within the caves, he would close the entrances with large chunks of stone, like the bringi insect, which arrests and carries away many flies and other insects and puts them within the holes of trees where it lives. Thus, Dvivida regularly defied the law and order of the country. Not only that, but he would sometimes pollute the female members of many aristocratic families by forcibly raping them. Remember that, it'll be on the test too. While creating such disturbances all over the country, sometimes he heard very sweet musical sounds from the Raivataka mountain, and so he entered that mountainous region. There he saw Lord Balaram in the midst of many young girls. Enjoying their company while singing and dancing, Dvivida became captivated by the beauty of Lord Balaram's body, whose every feature was very beautiful, decorated as he was with a garland of flowers. Similarly, all the young girls present, dressed and garlanded with flowers, boy, the flower merchants must have loved them, huh? Exhibited much beauty. Lord Balaram seemed fully intoxicated from drinking the Varuni beverage, and his eyes appeared to be rolling in a drunken state. Lord Balaram appeared just like the king of the elephants in the midst of many she-elephants. The gorilla, by the name Dvivida, could climb up into the trees and jump from one branch to another. Sometimes he would jerk the branches, creating a particular type of sound, kila kila, so that Lord Balaram was greatly distracted from the pleasing atmosphere. Sometimes Dvivida would come before the women and exhibit different types of characters. By nature, young women are apt to enjoy everything with laughter and joking, and when the gorilla came before them, they did not take him seriously, but simply laughed at him. However, the gorilla was so rude that even in the presence of Lord Balaram, he began to show the lower part of his body to the women. And sometimes he would come forward to show his teeth while moving his eyebrows. That'll be on the test too. He disrespected the women even in the presence of Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram's name suggests not only that he is very powerful, but that he takes pleasure in exhibiting extraordinary strength. So he took a stone and threw it at Dvivida. The gorilla, however, artfully avoided being struck by the stone. In order to insult Balaram, the gorilla took away the earthen pot in which the Varuni was kept. Dvivida, being thus intoxicated with his limited strength, began to tear off all the valuable clothes worn by Balaram and the accompanying young girls. He was so puffed up that he thought Balaram could not do anything to chastise him, and he continued to offend Balaramaji and his companions. When Lord Balaram saw the disturbances created by the gorilla and heard that he had already performed many mischievous activities all over the country, he became very angry and decided to kill him. Immediately he took his club in his hands. The gorilla could understand that now Balaram was going to attack him. To counteract Balaram, he immediately uprooted a big oak tree, and with great force he came and struck Lord Balaram's head. That's going to be on the test also. Lord Balaram, however, immediately caught hold of the big tree and remained undisturbed, just like a great mountain. To retaliate, he took his club, named Sunanda, and hit the gorilla with him, severely injuring his head. Currents of blood flowed from the gorilla's head with great force, but the stream of blood simply enhanced his beauty like a stream of lick manganese coming out of a great mountain. The striking of Balaram's club did not even slightly disturb him. On the contrary, he immediately uprooted another big oak tree, and after clipping off all of its leaves, again struck Balaram's head with it. But Balaram, with the help of his club, tore the tree to pieces. Since the gorilla was very angry, he took another tree in his hands and struck Lord Balaram's body. Again, Lord Balaram tore the tree to pieces, and the fighting continued. Each time the gorilla would bring out a big tree to strike Balaram, Lord Balaram would tear the tree to pieces by striking his club, and the gorilla Dvivida would clutch another tree from another direction and again attack Balaram in this way. As a result of this continuous fighting, the forest became treeless. When no more trees were available, Dvivida took help from the hills and threw large pieces of stone like rainfall upon the body of Balaram. Lord Balaram, in a great sporting mood, began to smash those big pieces of stone into mere pebbles. The gorilla, being bereft of all the trees and stone slabs, now stood before Balaram and waved his strong fists. Then with great force he began to beat Lord Balaram's chest with his fists. This time Lord Balaram became most angry. Since the gorilla was striking him with his hands, Lord Balaram could not strike him back with his own weapons, the club or plow. Simply with his fists, he struck the collarbone of the gorilla. This blow proved fatal to Dvivida, who immediately vomited blood and fell unconscious on the ground. When the gorilla fell, all the hills and forests appeared to totter. After this horrible incident, all the siddhas, great sages, and saintly persons from the upper planetary system showered flowers on the person of Lord Balaram and vibrated sounds glorifying his supremacy. All of them chanted, "All glories to Lord Balaram. Let us offer our respectful obeisances to your lotus feet. By killing this great demon Dvivida, you have initiated an auspicious era for the world." All such jubilant sounds of victory were heard from outer space. After killing the great demon Dvivida and being worshipped by showers of flowers and glorious sounds of victory, Balaram turned to the capital city, Dwarka. It's funny, he struck him very easily, but he didn't do it right away. It's like Prem Vikash was saying yesterday, how, Krishna comes to the rescue, but sometimes he lets them wonder a little bit. Think about it first. Like when Krishna went inside the Aghasura, he didn't go immediately. First, the cowherd boys went inside, but they thought maybe it's a big snake, but Krishna will rescue us. And they went inside and they died. But Krishna could still rescue them. Here, like if the patient dies, and you say, can you do something else? But Krishna can still rescue them. So he lets you know that even if he lets you wait till the last minute, he can still come to the rescue. And that's part of Krishna's Leela. It's funny, in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, it calls Dvivida sometimes a gorilla and sometimes an ape. Which one is he? Which one? How can he be both? Because a gorilla is a kind of ape. They're both apes. Ape doesn't have a tail. So if the monkey comes with a tail, you can't call it an ape. But the gorilla is a bigger kind of ape. So both things are correct. But not all apes are gorillas. So when we look in this, Lord Balaram played with him for a while. Could Lord Balaram kill someone easily? Who did Lord Balaram kill easily? Which one? How did he kill him? With a blade of grass. Anybody tried that here? Like someone attacks you, you kill them with a blade of grass? Doesn't work so well. Must have been like a blade, like it's in the broom, but still, that's going to be pretty hard, isn't it? You must have some special potency to do that. But Krishna and Balaram both have the potency, but they don't always show it. So now it's time for the test here. I made a mistake. I told a few people that we'd be reading about the story of a marriage, but that's next week. So who was the friend of Dvivida who was bad association for him? Narakasura. And how many princesses did he kidnap? 16,000? Was he a little greedy? Isn't that too many? Or he thought one was too many and 16,000 wasn't enough? Who was Dvivida's brother? Minda. You know that in the spiritual world, they have the deities of... No, Minda and Dvivida were ministers of Sugriva. And in the spiritual world, they have on the Ramaloka planet, because there's a planet for Rama, just like there's planets for Kapila and Nrsinga, and each of these are Vaikuntha planets. But the Krishna Loka planet is the main one. But they have them there because they say that this isn't the same Dvivida that was in the material world that fell down. We'll get to that in a minute here. On with the test here. So what did he do to the towns and villages? Set them on fire, right? How many elephants was he as powerful as? 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, or 1,000,000? 10,000. So he should easily be able to defeat Balaram, right? It's just like if you have a drop of water, it isn't a lot. But if you have 10,000 drops of water, that's more than the ocean, right? No, it's not. It's not more than the ocean. It's like the story of the frog thinking, well, if I have 10,000, I'm way ahead. But if Krishna's strength is unlimited, 10,000 isn't enough. And what would he do in the ocean? Was he surfing or creating a disturbance? And what did he do in the sacrificial arena? Don't imitate him there. Did he kidnap men or women? Both. And where would he put them? Just like what kind of insect? The bringy insect, a rex that carries flies. How would he pollute the female members? So what did he hear coming from the Rivataka mountain? Sweet musical sounds, but being in the mode, he thought he was going to disturb that rather than go enjoy it. And who did he see when he got there? With who else? Many beautiful young girls enjoying their company while singing and dancing. See, he's envious of it. And what was Lord Balaram drinking? Varuni. And were his eyes rolling in a drunken state? Or did it appear? It says his eyes appeared to be rolling in a drunken state. Let's see here. So what sound did Dvivida make? Boy, you guys know it all here. So that Lord Balaram became distracted from the pleasing atmosphere. Is it a good idea or a bad idea to distract Krishna and Balaram in their pastimes? Some people want like a jump start into Krishna's pastimes, and there's the place in Vrindavan called Sevakunj at the Nidhivan, and they say that Krishna still performs his pastimes there with the gopis. And all the monkeys leave. But some people think, you know what? Rather than wait and do the process and have Krishna invite me into it, I'll just go in to the Sevakunj at nighttime and I will view Krishna's pastimes. So after some of the people do this, then people ask them the next day what it was like. And what do they say? It's what? What? No. They say some kind of gibberish because they lose their mind, because it's more than they can handle. They're not ready to go into Krishna's pastimes. You know, we can't be like the impersonalist says, okay, I'm going to merge myself with God, move over God, here I come. And that kind of mood doesn't work out well. We have to wait till Krishna accepts us in his pastimes. Some people think like that what you do is that you decide you're a gopi, and then you start acting like a gopi. You wear a sari, and you do all the things. Imagining that this is your relationship with Krishna. But let's say you imagine that, and then it turns out that your real relationship with Krishna is as a cowherd boy. Doesn't this become an identity crisis? Right? It's just like if you thought you were a girl and it turns out you're a boy. Is that an identity crisis? Yes? Would be, right? Just like when Sudumya went in the forest. Don't go into that forest, because Parvati cursed it, that any males that go there turn to females. So all the males turned to females, including the horses, and they were all very unhappy about this. So, but then they got the chance to be a male half the time and a female half the time. So you stay out of that forest, because mainly we have an identity, but our main identity is the spiritual identity. But it would still be a shock to all of a sudden turn into that. But if Krishna turns us into something different, just like we see that the 6 Goswamis come, There's Raghunath Bhatta, Raghunath Das, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan, Gopal Bhatta, and Jiva Goswami. And they were the Manjaris, because Radha and Krishna have their relationship, and they have the Shakis. The principal ones are Lalita, Vishaka, Suchitra, Champak, Lata, Indulekha, Tungavidra, Rangadevi, and Sudevi. And the Manjaris assist the Shakis. The Shakis are like middle teens. The Manjaris are more like 9 or 11. And they assist the Shakis to assist Radha and Krishna. That's why quite often being the servant of the servant is just like if one of you sticks a fork in the socket, has a shock, and if someone grabs them, you get a bigger shock. And if I grab them, I get a bigger shock, because it doesn't diminish, it goes on more. So these 6 Goswamis, the Manjaris, they were there, were Rupa, Rati, Vilas, Labangala, Pavarika, Rupa, Rati, Vilas, Pavarika, Labanga. That's all I remember right now. We'll go back to Lord Balaram. So what did Dravida do to insult Balaram and the women? What? What did he show? Yes, and he showed, and what else? Teeth. And what was he moving? Wow! You have this story memorized, or are you reading it somewhere there? So what did he throw at Dravida? A stone. So what did Dravida take from Balaram? The pot of Dravuni. And then what happened to Dravida? What was he intoxicated with? His limited strength? But if he's as powerful as 10,000 elephants, isn't that unlimited? I guess not. But he didn't know that. Did that get him in trouble? If you overestimate yourself and underestimate Krishna, even in his different forms, you'll get into trouble. Because one of the things that mainly is different from us and Krishna is that we're subject to something called the law of contradiction. If I'm in South Africa, I can't be in India. If I'm a man, I can't be a woman. If I'm old, I can't be young. If I'm big, I can't be small. If I'm inside, I can't be outside. If I'm a man, I can't be a beast. So, Brahma tricked Krishna because he thought, how can Krishna be a cowherd boy and God? Can't be both. So he hid all the cows and the cowherd boys, and Krishna looked perplexed. So then before that, Hiranyakashipu tricked Brahma because he said he wanted to be immortal. So Hiranyakashipu said all the things that would seem to cover it, because we're all subject to the law of contradiction. And so we can't be inside or outside, so that person can't kill him. If they're big, they can't be small. If they're a man, they can't be a woman. This seems to have covered it, because all the living entities are subject to the law of contradiction. So how was Krishna able to appear in a form that violates the law of contradiction? When all of us living entities are subject to it, how was Krishna able to appear in a form that wasn't subject to the laws of contradiction? How is that? All the living entities are subject to this law of contradiction. You can't break it. It's like saying, I'll jump off the roof and break the law of gravity. You won't break the law of gravity, but you might break a leg. So how is it that Krishna was able to do that? What about the law of contradiction that all living entities are subject to? Who can answer that? He's not subject to the law of contradiction. That's the trick, that we think since we are, he must also be subject. But that's a bad conclusion. And that's what Brahma thought. And Krishna appeared to be running around looking for the cows and the cowherd boys. Because if somebody plays a trick on you, say you have a military plan, and you're having a battle at the park, and you let them chase you to the other end of the park because you know their plan, and you make them think their plan is working, but your counter plan is to surround them from behind. So Krishna tricked Brahma instead, because he made Brahma think that his trick was working. And that's the first thing you do to make a counter trick. Make them think that their trick is working. So Krishna is not subject to these laws of contradiction. But Krishna is expanded as Balaram, so he can't have all the potency of Krishna, can he? It's just like if we put half of our money, all of our money's here, we put half of it there, it's cut in half, right? So if Krishna expands into Balaram, they're each only half as potent? No, they each have full potency. Maybe this is inconceivable. Maybe it's also hard for us to conceive. I guess that's why they call it inconceivable. So, does it look like it's a bad idea to interrupt Krishna in his pastimes, or Balaram? And we have a few chapters with Balaram in this, because generally Balaram is there with Krishna. He's his constant companion. Like in the Greek plays, they have an antagonist, like all the demons, and a protagonist. The what? The protagonist means it's someone that understands them and they help them do the pastimes instead of trying to counter them. And who can understand Krishna better than his first expansion? It's just like somebody asked me when I was reading the story about Krishna hiding the calves and cowherd boys. Someone said, can you explain how Krishna does that? Like, I'm going to get a blackboard and show the mathematical principle that Krishna used. Was I able to explain how he did that? No. But Krishna did explain it to someone. Who did he explain it to? Who was it that first noticed? Balaram. Because he can understand it. Even Brahma couldn't understand this. He's going, how is he a cowherd boy and how is he God and how are they there and yet they're here at the same time? Because this was even beyond his own abilities. But Balaram could understand it. He says he explained it to Balaram. It didn't show like the mathematical principle that's involved with that, like the scientists show the mathematics of this and this and this and how he expanded. But he just manifests it as if it's easy. It's funny, when my granddaughter was little, she said, Krishna can do anything and it's not even hard for him. But sometimes Krishna makes it look like it's hard. But then in just a fraction of a second, he makes it all work. So Balaram is there in all of Krishna's pastimes, except a few. In Vrindavan, where is Balaram not with Krishna? When? In the rasa dance. No, it was his birthday. But you know, it adds to it more when someone's not there at certain times. But when they're there, you see the pictures of them. They're playing the flutes together, and when they're there, they definitely spend quality time with each other. We don't see mention of it. He didn't pull down any trees. But he's generally in the same town. Like when Krishna goes to Mathura, who goes with him? And all the residents of Vrindavan came, and they all went back except who? Balaram. He wasn't in Kurukshetra. And here, in a few of these pastimes, when Krishna wanted to go back to see the residents of Vrindavan, but Vasudeva and Devaki said, oh no, you can't go, you'll never come back. Because in the night, Krishna would talk about the gopis and Radharani, and the wives wonder, how is it that he's here with us, but he can't get Vrindavan and Radharani out of his mind? So they said, well, you can't go, but Balaram can go. So Krishna told Balaram, you go and be with the residents of Vrindavan. So this is a couple chapters back that Balaram visits the residents of Vrindavan. How many chapters back did you read that one? Let's see. It was the chapter two before this. One was Pandraka, and before that was Balaram visits Vrindavan. And you see, Pandraka was also underestimating Krishna because he thought, okay, Balaram has gone to Vrindavan, therefore it should be easier to defeat Krishna because Balaram's not there with him. Did that prove to be correct or incorrect? It proved to be incorrect. He sort of lost his head, or was that the king of Kasi? The king of Kasi lost his head. And Pandraka wanted the symbols of Vishnu. Which symbol did Krishna give him? The disc, yes. Was he able to handle that? Just like Sisupala? See, that's why they think Sisupala had insulted Krishna 99 times. I got away with it 99 times. One more time should be okay, correct? Looks that way though, doesn't it? If I did it 99 times and I got away with it, the 100th time should be the same, shouldn't it? You might think that way, but it didn't work out that way. You're just getting yourself in more trouble so that when it catches up, you're guilty of 100 crimes. And off went his head too. And so Balaram went to visit the residents of Vrindavan alone. And then Balaram, there he has his own gopis that he dances with, who are the younger girls who couldn't be married. It's not the same gopis that Krishna has. And here he is off with them again at the Raivataka mountain. And he picked a different place to go to, was it the Ramghat? Is that where Balaram takes his gopis? I think it's the Ramghat. But it's interesting, they have a whole different relationship with him. But Balaram being the first expansion, he appears there with Krishna. When Krishna comes as Ram, he comes as Lakshman. When he's there as Mahavishnu, he comes as Sesha. When he's there as Lord Chaitanya, he comes as Lord Nityananda. And they're the constant companions. And who else is always there with Krishna? Generally. Sometimes they're separated, but they always come together. Who? Radharani. But she stays in Vrindavan because her particular relationship is there. When they went to the field of Kurukshetra, she says to her friend, I saw my old and dear friend Krishna. He is the same Krishna I am the same Radharani. And it is very wonderful to see him here in Kurukshetra. But there is all the rattling of chariots and horses and hustle and bustle of the city. It was so wonderful to see Krishna, but I still wish I could be by the bank of the Yamuna River, hearing Krishna play that sweet fifth transcendental note on his flute within that forest of Vrindavan. That must be good to hear that flute, right? Krishna has several kinds of flutes: the Venu, the Vamsi, and the Murli. The Venu has like 6 holes and it's small, and the Vamsi has like 12 holes, or maybe 9, and the Murali, I think, has 18 holes. Murli, I mean. So he has different flutes he plays. Does Balaram also play a flute? When they go off to the forest with the cows, they play the flute. So when Krishna appears as Rama and Lakshman, and Mahavishnu and Sesha, do they play the flute there? But it's the same Balaram. Why don't they play the flute? It's what? Because there's 50 qualities that we have in part that Krishna has in full. And then there's another 10 parts that Mahavishnu has. And we don't have those at all. Like universes come from their body. Raise your hand if any of these apply. If universes come from your body, anybody? Are you the tractor of all liberated souls? Do the enemies you kill get salvation? No? You're sure? You're sure? That's good. These are some of, you have all mystic potencies, all yogic perfections, ever fresh, changeless, changeless, changeless. You have Satchidananda, eternal knowledge and full of bliss. Not in the complete, we're talking in full. But in the form of Krishna, he has 4 extra qualities. And because it's in Vrindavan, Balaram also has these. Balaram plays the flutes. Balaram has, they have a wonderful kind of prema or love, and this is followed by wonderful pastimes, intimate pastimes that exhibit this love. And it talks about playing the flute and having a form that's even more beautiful than the most beautiful forms. So in this form, even Balaram is going to be more attractive than Lakshman or Seshanaga. So we have to take special notice of that. And the next chapter is going to have Balaram in it, but not Krishna. But we won't give that away because that will be for next week. The 22nd of December, we'll read about that one. Of course, you could read ahead. But we find that the pastimes of Dwarka and Mathura are a little different. Because when Akrura was taking Krishna out of Vrindavan, they stopped by the lakeside and they parked under a big tree. And Akrura went in the lake to chant his Gayatri. And there he saw Krishna and Balaram appeared as Vishnu and Seshanaga, and with all the demigods around. And then the vision disappeared, and he went, and Krishna and Balaram were still sitting on the chariot. And Krishna says to Akrura, "Did you see something wonderful within water or in space?" So he knew that he saw something. But this is the interesting character of Krishna, is that, we always think of God as being absolute. He's a supreme controller. He's the supreme enjoyer. He creates everything, all these qualities. But God can't be relative, right? You make a list of things God can't do. Here's the one for you. What is it? Here is something, you tell me what this is. Poor people have it. It's what rich people need, and it's what God can't do. What is that? Nothing. You figure out any one of those, you get all of them. So God can also be relative. He can act like a baby. But as a baby, because he's not subject to the law of contradiction, he can still do all these wonderful things. That's why Putana thought she would be able to go and she would put the poison on her breast and Krishna would suck it and he would die. But instead, she died because he sucked the life out. She said, child, leave me, leave me. Well, maybe she underestimated Krishna. But that's why we see that in the next chapter, when Balaram comes to Hastinapur, he sends Uddhava inside to find out what the situation and mood of the Kurus is. This is why Krishna tells us in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita that to use deliberate spiritual intelligence. And some people say, oh, they like that verse in the 18th chapter where Krishna says, do what you like. But before that, he says, deliberate fully and then do what you like. Not just think about it a little, but deliberate fully. That's the difference there, to deliberate fully. So we should understand what we're doing before we make choices in life. We should understand what the cost to benefit is. Will this bring us closer to Krishna or take us closer away? Like we see the things, Dvivita's original problem was he thought he was so powerful. 10,000 elephants, I must be powerful. And of course, because Rama and Lakshman are playing a Leela, Lakshman appeared to need medicine, and Hanuman went and got the whole mountain and brought it back. So Dvivita says, well, I'm more powerful than Lakshman, and he became envious of him. I should have this position. So that's what it takes in the spiritual world when we think, well, why does Krishna get to be supreme enjoyer? Why can't I be? But the trouble is we're not. We have to always remember that we are the servant and to think in that way. As soon as we become envious of Krishna and others, we get ourselves in trouble. Are there any questions or comments there? I'm impressed how you all knew that story so well. You must have read it ahead of time and memorized it. You read it a few times, right? You say, oh, I never heard this story. Either that or you have the best memory ever. But that's the thing, yes.
So when Brahma kidnaps the cows and
Yes.
so how come Brahma could not tell those marks
Maybe he wasn't looking at his feet. And he was looking at the contradiction. Well, he's God, but why is he acting as a cowherd boy? Because this is the thing that it's showing, is it doesn't seem like it makes sense. How is it that you're going to be, if you're God, you're not going to be a cowherd boy, right? Like you see the leader of the country is out herding the cows. No, that can't be him, right? So it defied the logic. That's the part of the story. He was so enamored by the idea that first he's a cowherd boy, and then he goes inside and kills the Aghasura. Why is he acting like this? Because he's judging by himself. Brahma doesn't go play with the children. He's always the supreme controller in this universe. So it was mind-boggling for him that Krishna could be both. And of course it goes by the Leela. He doesn't totally forget. He has the idea, but he thought maybe I better test him just to make sure. Because he knows, wait a minute, this is God, but why is he acting like a cowherd boy? So he didn't notice that, but he was mind-boggled that he's acting like a cowherd boy. Why would God want to be a cowherd boy? Yes. Yes. Yes.
So could we then say that the Leela is more or less similar to Arjuna's illusion?
Well, of course, because Krishna can put someone in illusion who's not, or take the illusion away from someone who is an illusion. Krishna can do this, and that's the whole point. That's why some of the ones in Madhava Sampradaya, they don't like to do this, because Brahma's the starter of the Sampradaya, and how could Brahma be bewildered? But it's not an insult to be bewildered by Krishna. Who is there Krishna can't bewilder? We don't think that that's an insult. It's Krishna gives them this. And that's the point there. Any comments, Raghunath Bhatta? Yes? I can't hear you. Oh, you don't have the mic. That's right. Online, yes.
You mentioned about Seva Kunj, the pastimes.
Yes.
Is it still going on there? Is there any source reference to
Yes,
that?
but the people who go in to try to see it because they're not ready for it, they lose their mind.
But is there any source reference for that, what you're saying? Is there a source reference if you read it somewhere?
Oh, well, they say Krishna's pastimes are still going on in Vrindavan. There's always the indication that Krishna still
Yeah.
performs them there. I can't quote an exact reference, but we always say that. Yes?
There is in the 11th chapter where I'm a rapper.
Yes.
There is in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna tells Arjuna, I'll give you divine eyes,
Yes.
so you'll be able to see. So yes,
Yes.
the pastimes of Krishna, they're still going on, but we don't have
The divine
the
eyes.
divine eyes.
So you just force your way in.
You can't.
Except that doesn't work out very well, so.
You can, because every sacred place has a different vortex, and there are
Yes.
certain vortexes that you cannot handle with this physical
Right,
body.
like a different dimension.
Yes, they have different dimensions. So if they do say that Seva Kunj is like that, then you don't have the capacity to take it. You won't be able to take it.
That's why they come out without a mind. That's why to imagine we're in Krishna's pastimes, we read about Krishna's pastimes and we hold the great souls on our head, but if we imagine we're in them, it's like saying that you want to be a patriot to the country. So you fly to Pretoria and you decide that you will become the Minister of Defense and you will reorganize the army. But the trouble is there's already a Minister of Defense and there's already people in charge in it. You can't just step on their heads and decide that you're going to be in charge of this. Vibhu Chaitanya, do you have any words of wisdom to add to this? Anything more, or shall we break for? And today, of course, is the Sunday feast, and we'll be having reflections of Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita, and we ask you all to come and attend. Shouldn't be hard, you already know where it is. Hare Krishna.